Welcome back to Explain America. This is your host, Kyle Becker. The fate of the control of Congress could come down to a state senator who is refusing to go along with the redistricting effort. And the reason he points to for defying President Trump, well, it's raising some eyebrows. But before we get into this story, please like, share, and comment at Explain America. Join us. We appreciate your support for common sense journalism. Now, a state senator, he is not going along with the redistricting effort in order to solidify the Republicans' control of the House of Representatives. And this state senator, Michael Bohacek, in Indiana, he says that a mean tweet is the reason he's not going to play ball with President Trump. Well, the Republican state senator in Indiana announced that he will be refusing to vote in favor of the state's redistricting effort, which could prove decisive in the upcoming midterm elections, because President Trump called Minnesota Governor Tim Walz the R word in an X-post. So in a fiery X-post sent late Thanksgiving night, President Trump announced his plans to halt all immigration, legal and illegal, from third world countries, his term, as well as individuals who harbor negative views against the United States and its people. So midway through the post, Trump had some very incendiary words about Governor Walz and U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar. This is what he said, quote, "The seriously R word," and I'm summarizing it, "Governor of Minnesota Tim Walz does nothing either through fear, incompetence, or both, while the worst congresswoman in our country, Ilhan Omar, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab. You probably came into the U.S. illegally, and that you're not allowed to marry your brother." He went on to say that he is halting illegal immigration. And hours later, Indiana State Senator Michael Bohacek announced in a Facebook post that he will not be backing the state's Trump-backed redistricting effort. And that could lead to 2 more seats in the midterm elections. And that's all because Trump said some mean words. He said, and I quote, "Many of you have asked my position on redistricting. I've been an unapologetic advocate for people with intellectual disabilities since the birth of my second daughter. Those of you that don't know me or my family might not know that my daughter has Down syndrome," unquote. And he added, quote, "This is not the first time our president has used these insulting and derogatory references, and his choices of words have consequences. I will be voting no on redistricting. Perhaps he can use the next 10 months to convince voters that his policies and behavior deserve a congressional majority," unquote. Well, Bohacek's post was met with fury from the GOP base. And this is what one reporter from Florida's Voice, Eric Dougherty, had to say, quote, "What a freaking child. Primary this week, Republican. Outrageous. Grandstanding when our nation is at stake. Caving to Gavin Newsom and the Democrat country destroyers is your play because you're offended," unquote. Now, the very interesting twist in all of this is that many commenters pointed out that Bohacek was previously arrested for drunk driving after being stopped while 3 times over the legal limit. So this so-called principled Republican was putting Americans' lives at risk, including children that he pretends to care so much about, that he would be willing to just turn the country over to Democrat policies. Well, he was involved in a drunk driving incident in Michigan City where a witness reported seeing him drinking from an open container and stumbling out of his vehicle in a Panda Express parking lot before he drove off in his Dodge Charger, and police pulled him over for speeding at 62 miles an hour in a 45 mile an hour zone, and his blood test revealed that he had a blood alcohol content of 0.28%, and that's over 3 times the legal limit of 0.08%. But due to legislative immunity under the Indiana Constitution, he was not able to be arrested on the spot and was instead driven home. So this gives you a real insight into the principles of this state senator. It looks to me like he's making excuses that he just doesn't like President Donald Trump, and he's grasping on to whatever he can find as an excuse not to help Republicans. Well, TDS strikes again, and that's in the deep red state of Indiana. It looks to me like their electorate is going to have to hold him accountable if the Republicans fail to hold on to the midterm election control of the House of Representatives in particular. But weigh in with your own thoughts. We appreciate you watching at Explain America.